Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. Sorry, I accidentally right-clicked on the music and then it just turned off. I'm Paul Valley. Thank you for joining us today. Joining us in place of Zach Moore is Dillon Atkinson. Dillon, good morning. Thanks for being with us. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Paul. Thanks for having me on. Good to be back.
Yeah, we're extremely excited to have you on. Extremely excited to be a Baltimore Orioles fan. I don't know if you heard, but there's a polar bear in Baltimore. The Orioles have signed Pete Alonso to a 5-year, $155 million contract. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. I want to remind everybody that today's show is brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one is suffering with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's helpmygamblingproblem.org or 1-800-GAMBLER for free confidential services. Dillon, the polar bear is in Baltimore. The 5-year, $155 million deal sets a franchise record for average annual value, $31 million a year to Pete Alonso, and there are no opt-outs. So we don't have to worry about trying to do this again after next year, after year two. There's a limited no-trade clause, so it looks like Pete Alonso is in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. Your initial thoughts and reactions when you saw that Alonso was signed here?
Initial reaction was they freaking did it.
I think that was all of our reaction.
We all saw the reports, heading into the winter meetings and everything that the Orioles were talking with Kyle Schwarber, were talking with Pete Alonso and everything. And I think everyone had a little bit of excitement that they were at least talking to him, but was also kind of just on edge of, this isn't going to amount to anything. Could see them being in on the top tier of the starting pitchers, but they're really not going to invest in this offense, are they? At least to this degree. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, you see that Jeff Passan tweet hit like crack, and it's a 5-year, $155 million contract for Pete Alonso. And I had to go back and reread the tweet a couple times going, they actually did that, right?
I was in the car. I had just pulled up to my house, and I was listening to the Vinny and Haney show on 105.7 The Fan. They had just gone to commercial break, and I'm checking my phone. I just was constantly refreshing my feed on X the entire winter meetings week, just seeing what the Orioles were going to do, who were they linked to, and I saw the Jeff Passan tweet, and I was like, is this real, or is it like, I had to check to make sure it was the real Jeff Passan, right? Yeah. And I think we all did a double take and didn't believe it, and you're like rubbing the eyes, like, what did I just see, right? And then I immediately texted, or I didn't even text. You know what? I called my buddy. My best friend, Adam, who I went to the Ravens-Steelers game with on Sunday. My best friend since I was 14 years old. I normally would text him. I was like, no, I got to call him. I called him. I was like, they signed Pete Alonso. He was like, what? Like, just super excited. Then Zach Moore sends me the text. He's like, we got him. And I'm like, this is incredible. And I'll tell you, Zach has a source. Zach has a source that he will not tell anybody, and he shouldn't tell anybody, because you don't keep sources by telling people who your source is. And he would kind of let me know when things were going down. And he texted me that morning, and he was like, full court press on Pete Alonso right now. Like, this is happening. Like, not that they're signing him, but they're putting the full court press on Pete Alonso. And the reason for that is that the Orioles were going after Kyle Schwarber, and they were going after Kyle Schwarber hard. It was legitimately down to, they said it was down to the Reds, Pirates, Orioles, and Phillies for Kyle Schwarber, but it wasn't. It was down to the Orioles and the Phillies. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the Orioles set the market for Kyle Schwarber. They offered him 5 years, $150 million. He went back to the Phillies, who didn't have that offer on the table for him, and he was like, this is what they offered me. The Phillies had to add a next. They were originally, I think they were going to add like an opt-in, like a mutual option for a 5th year, and they had to add a guaranteed 5th year because that's what the Orioles offered to him. That's what they presented to him. And so it wasn't the Orioles that matched the Phillies. It was the Phillies that matched the Orioles for Kyle Schwarber. And if you're Kyle Schwarber, you had the 4 best years of your career in Philadelphia. You're a clubhouse leader there. You're a fan favorite there. You've been to your own. Well, no, because he was with the Cubs in the World Series in 2016. But you go to the World Series with the Phillies, one of the best teams in baseball every year. It could have been any team in baseball. I'm convinced any team in baseball would have made, if they had made the same offer that the Orioles and Phillies made, he's still going back to the Phillies. It was always going to be, he gives the Phillies the right of first refusal after getting that contract offer. And so that's what happened. So when we all saw that the Orioles and the Phillies had the exact same offer for Kyle Schwarber, it's like, okay, they're serious. They're serious. But we also know that they had the highest average annual value offer for Corbin Burnes last year. So then you're thinking, and this was my thoughts when I saw that it was the same for Schwarber from both clubs. The Orioles are being used for leverage. How is this going to play out the rest of the winter meetings? And you start to feel some kind of way, right? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. So you're sitting there and you're like, man, is this just how it's going to be? They're going to be in on everybody because look, they are in. If there's a name out there, they are in on that player. That's what's being reported. Yeah. If there's a name out there, they're in. So you're legitimately sitting there like they're just going to be used for leverage. Then when I get that text from Zach the next morning, full court press on Pete Alonso today, and then a couple hours later it comes out, Orioles have signed him. That rush of feeling, that adrenaline that goes through you, the chills down your spine, because this isn't... Dillon, how old are you?
31.
31? Oh, wow, I'm 10 years older than you. That's freaking nuts. Dillon, you're 31. I am 41. There have been a handful of signings in our entire lives, probably more in my life than yours, that are of this magnitude. And maybe none that are of this magnitude. I go back to when the Orioles signed Roberto Alomar, B.J. Surhoff, and Eric Davis prior to Surhoff and Alomar prior to 96, and then Eric Davis prior to 97, right? And Alomar was maybe the biggest signing since the trade for Frank Robinson. Then you go to the winter meetings or the offseason before the 2004 season, and they sign Miguel Tejada, Javi Lopez, and Rafael Palmeiro. And then they trade for Sammy Sosa in 2005, right before 2006, which was a nothing burger. That at the time we thought it was huge, but
everything at that time we got Sammy.
I know, right? But for Jerry Hairston. Of all players, right? And so you look at these. I know, right? And you look back at these signings, and Pete Alonso, the only player that is potentially, comparable is Alomar, right? Because Alomar is a proven all-star second baseman, one of the best hitters in baseball when he comes to the Orioles. And the Orioles already had the pitching staff and the powerful lineup, right? They already had guys like Palmeiro, Brady, who hit 50 home runs that year. They had Cal, they had Chris Hoyles, and then they had Bobby Bonilla, they had Harold Baines. They've got in their rotation Mussina, Erickson. They brought in Jimmy Key the next year, but they had the pitching staff. They had the lineup that had a bunch of Hall of Famers already in it, and then they add Alomar. Mm-hmm. When they got Tejada, when they got Lopez, when they brought Palmeiro back, they didn't have any pitching. You go back and you look at that 2004 team, one of the best offenses of the last 30 years for the Baltimore Orioles, right? But they had zero pitching. Yeah. Pete Alonso being added to this team as the first move, not the only move. And it's not even the first move, but him being added to this team, what it signifies for this franchise moving forward it's the dawning of a new era. You $31 million to a position player, and saying we're not done. They're looking at the top of the market for starting pitching, for another relief pitcher, and then they're potentially not done with additions to the lineup. And we'll get to that in a little bit. I think that the Pete Alonso signing is maybe the biggest signing of our lifetimes because of what it signifies for this franchise and a turning point for the franchise moving forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you said it, new era, and it's not just that you said it. Mike Elias even said yesterday during the press conference, a new era. So for him to signify that himself, that's kind of him putting out in the open there that, yeah, we are willing to shell out this money now, and we're not done yet. Because you don't sign Pete Alonso to this deal in an offseason that your most dire need is pitching. You don't sign him to this deal and just stop there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're still going to be involved at the top of the pitching market, and really with only few names off the board in the pitching market and the additions that they've already made to the bullpen with Helsley and Kittredge and to the offense with Pete Alonso, it's nice to be in a position that you've already attacked this offseason very aggressively, made some signature moves, and yet kind of like a world is your oyster type moment where there's so many options out there that you can do to improve this ball club, especially on the pitching side, where you're not backed into a corner, kind of like they were last offseason, where it seemed like their whole focus was on Corbin Burns. And then Corbin Burns signed somewhat later in the offseason, and by then all the rest of the options were off the table, and they were pretty much left with Charlie Morton and Zagano.
Yeah.
You know, and you're in a position right now where your top priority is starting pitching. You've already filled a bunch of other needs, and there's still so many avenues out there that you can explore to make sure you improve that part of your team. If you lose out on one guy, there's other guys right there that you can drastically improve your ball club with. So it's a rare new position for the Orioles to be in at this point in the offseason, and it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, and you look at from what we heard and Zach reported this on the show last week. John Paul Morosi said that the Orioles had a number of contracts in hand with starting pitching last year, and they were used for leverage. They got beaten in the 11th hour, and then Corbin Burns was I think their main target to bring back, but they had other contract offers in hand for other pitchers, and they got beat out at the last minute. So then they had to pivot and sign, okay, here's Zagano. He's been really great in his career over in Japan. Let's bring him in to see what he can do. Charlie Morton, maybe he's not an ace, but he's a veteran leader, and if he can pitch to a 4 ERA, that's a coup for us. And they're not anticipating that Grayson Rodriguez won't throw an inning in 2024. And they were probably hoping, maybe we get Bradish back after the All-Star break. He didn't come back till August. Wells didn't come back till August. They're not anticipating that this crap that hit the fan last year was going to happen. And I mean, yeah, injuries are going to happen, but you can't plan around those injuries. You know what I mean? That you do have to have depth,
Yeah.
But you're sitting there and you're thinking, if we're adding, Morton and Zagano to a rotation that already has Dean Kramer, Zach Eflin, and Grayson Rodriguez, yeah, it might not be the best rotation in baseball, but we anticipate that our offense is going to be able to score 4.5 to 5 runs a game. These guys can give us 6 innings of 3-run ball more often than not. We're going to win a lot of ball games doing that. Eflin gets hurt and misses half the season in different spurts. Grayson doesn't throw an inning. Kramer had a good year, not a great year, because he was typical Dean Kramer. He'll give you 3 really great starts and then 2 awful starts, Yeah. And I'm sure that they were viewing Bradish and Wells as deadline acquisitions almost. Bradish and Wells coming back to a team that's probably in contention. That puts them over the top, where you're adding an ace to your rotation and either a really strong starting pitcher or a dominant back-end reliever to your bullpen. They're looking at that last year and they're thinking, we're going to be just fine. And then they forgot that Brandon Hybe is their manager. And but And that's the thing, and not trying to hate on Brandon Hyde, but one of the key things in bringing Pete Alonso into this ball club was Craig Albernaz. It was Craig Albernaz and the addition of Donnie Ecker as the bench coach. Donnie Ecker has a reputation across baseball. Players love this guy. They love his tutors. They love playing for him. They love working with him. Craig Albernaz, something about that Boston accent just tells you that Craig Albernaz is a baseball guy. And Brandon Hyde was a baseball guy, but like there's something different about Albernaz. And Scott Boras even said all it took was an hour with Albernaz to sell Pete on coming to Baltimore. That's all it took, So it's I don't know how to deal with these feelings. It's like I don't know what to do with my hands right now. It has been legitimately almost 30 years. It has been almost 30 years since we have been able to say that the Orioles are at the top of the league when it comes to building their ball club and being in contention. And look, the season hasn't started yet. There hasn't been a single pitch thrown even in practice yet, right?
Yeah.
But you look back to going into 1996. You've got Davey Johnson, who was a World Series winning manager. You've got Hall of Fame players up and down your lineup. You've got a legitimate starting rotation. It faltered in that 96 season, but they were still a really good staff, right? Like with a lot of pedigree and history. And then you add a guy like Roberto Alomar to that team and B.J. Surhoff. The Orioles haven't operated this way since back then. And now you look at it, and you've got baseball guys who are renowned as coaches across the league who players love. You've got such young talent up and down the lineup, and then you add Pete Alonso to it, man. And you know that more is coming. That's the incredible thing is, this isn't going to be it. I was so upset when you traded Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward. For Taylor Ward. I was so upset with it not because they were getting rid of Grayson Rodriguez, because I saw trading Grayson Rodriguez as a sign that they're bringing in two legitimate starting pitchers. That's how I took that. What I was upset about was I thought, because of how we've seen Mike Elias and this franchise operate in the past, this is the guy. This is the guy that they're bringing in to fortify this lineup, and he ain't that dude. He's not. Now, and I even said, I went live on Twitter or X a couple of days later to fully explain myself, and I said, if Taylor Ward's the guy, I hate it. If he's somebody to supplement this roster, and then they're bringing in an Alonso or a Schwarber or a Tucker or a Bellinger, then I love the trade. Yeah. I love the trade for Taylor Ward now. I love it. I absolutely love it, because now you've got a guy, because he's going to hit fifth. He's going to hit fifth for this team. He's not hitting third. He's not hitting fourth. It should be Gunnar, Alonso, Ward, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to get into what that means for this lineup. But, oh my God, you just added 80 home runs. You just added 80 home runs to your team. Your team leader in home runs last year was Holiday and Gunnar with 17 home runs each. Alonso never hit less than... no, Westberg had 15.
I thought he had 17 with him.
Let me, I have the stats right here.
I might be wrong. I thought it was a three-way tie.
No, Westberg did hit 17. You're right. Westberg hit 17. My apologies. And Westberg missed a ton of games. And Kalser didn't even play 100 games. He hit 16. And we all know how I feel about Colton Kalser. I believe the potential, the talent, and the ability is there. I'm very interested to see what the new hitting coach, Lind, is able to do with a guy like Kalser, because that launch angle that they had, that the previous coaches had him swinging at, absolutely absurd. Get him back to being a spray hitter. The light tower power is there. If he puts a solid swing on the baseball, it's going to go a long way. Just focus on spraying the ball over the field. That's why you got drafted 5th overall, but we'll get to that later. I want to remind everybody that today's show, before I go off on any more tangents, I'm just so excited. Today's show brought to you by Project Game Day. Pressbox's Project Game Day continues tomorrow following Ravens-Bengals. They better win that damn game. With your hosts, Glenn Clark and Rita Hubbard, special guest Ken Zales and Andrew Stecca, and former Ravens linebacker Tyus Bowser. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, or at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Project Game Day is brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER, Costa Sin, Game Day Men's Health, and Live Casino and Hotel. let's talk about what this does for the Orioles lineup. Okay, last year the Orioles as a ball club in 2025 hit 235 with a 305 on base percentage and a 699 OPS. Alonso in his career 253, 341, 857 in those categories, including 272, 347, 871 in 2025. As a frame of reference, only Gunnar Henderson had more walks last year than Alonso, 62 to 61, and a higher on base percentage, 349 to 347. And nobody who ended the season with Baltimore even came close to Alonso's 871 OPS. Like, I don't think anybody had an 800 OPS for this ball club. We talked about it. The team leader in home runs was a tie between Gunnar, Westberg, and Holliday at 17. Alonso's never hit less than 34 in a 162-game season, and he's hit 40-plus in 3 of his 6 full normal seasons. Gunnar led the Orioles in RBI in 2025. Can you just guess what that number was, if you don't know?
For what, RBIs?
Yeah.
For Gunnar? What, just 78? I don't know.
68. Gunnar led the Orioles with 68 RBI in 2025. Alonso had almost 60 more runs driven in. Alonso finished second in the National League with 126 RBI, and he's driven in 100-plus 4 times. That's what they just added to the middle of their lineup. You think about, and I've seen a lot of projected lineups, and a lot of people have Gunnar batting leadoff, and I'll tell you why that's a mistake.
Okay.
You want to have Gunnar batting third. You want to have Gunnar batting third because then you have Alonso batting fourth, and you have Ward batting fifth. The other team is going to think long and hard about bringing in a lefty reliever to face Gunnar unless there's already 2 outs, because after Gunnar, that lefty reliever still has to face, unless Gunner's the 4th hitter in the inning. After Gunnar, still has to face the right-handed hitting Alonso and the right-handed hitting Ward, who just eat lefties for breakfast. Gunnar has to hit third on this team. I'm telling you, with Alonso and Ward protecting him, assuming that everybody stays healthy, Gunner's going to hit close to 300 with 40 bombs this year. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind he's going to have a career year. He's going to have a career year.
I could see it. And the only thing that worries me about Gunnar in the third spot, if they don't address the offense any further, is that I'm not fully sold yet that Holliday is the leadoff man.
I bet Bieber's leadoff.
That's fine. You're still talking unproven. So if push comes to shove, I agree. I want Pete Alonso right behind Gunnar Henderson. Absolutely. So if it comes down to it and there's no true leadoff hitter for this team, because maybe Holliday's not the guy, maybe Beavers isn't the guy. If you need Gunnar Henderson batting leadoff, screw it. Put Alonso second, put him right behind him. No matter what, wherever you put Gunnar, you just put Pete Alonso right behind him, no matter where it's at. You want to bat second, you put Alonso third. No matter where it is, I don't think it's necessarily about where you put Gunnar necessarily. No matter where he's at, you just have Pete Alonso follow him wherever he goes.
Absolutely. You want the, and there is an argument to be made for batting Gunnar and Alonso 1-2 in this order. There's
most at bats. Your best hitters the most at bats in a game. Then. Yeah,
and you know what?
Just a thought.
I can be sold on this because how many times are you going to see the Orioles with a 2-0 lead in the first inning if they bat first and second? And how many games are they going to start hitting back-to-back home runs?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's probably going to be 5 or 6 games where they go back-to-back to start a game if they're batting first and second, you know? And then can you imagine looking back? It's August, and Gunner's hitting first, Alonso's hitting second, and they both have 30-plus home runs.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's going to feed families. It's absolutely going to feed families if that's what they do. So this is the projected lineup that I put out.
Okay.
Not put out, that I put in the notes here. Versus right-handed pitching, I've got Beavers leading off playing right field, and I'll tell you why. Okay? And I want, if Beavers doesn't get traded,
Good habit.
I want Beavers eventually playing every day because I think he's a complete player. He hit 150 against lefties in the majors last year, but he got 20 at bats. He went 3 for 20. He hit over 260 against them in the minors last year. But I look at Beavers. Let me pull up his on base percentage. So Dylan Beavers, yeah, he only hit 227 last year, 26 walks in 35 games.
He works it down.
You extrapolate that over 140 games. That's over 100 walks. That's a 375 on base percentage despite hitting 227. Mm-hmm. Right? He works the count. He can put the bat on the ball. 36 strikeouts in 35 games. I can live with that, especially his first taste of big league pitching. I look at Dylan Beavers as a guy that if he's on this roster on opening day, he's going to be a dark horse rookie of the year candidate, I think, especially hitting in this lineup with no pressure. There is zero pressure on Dylan Beavers to perform because look at everybody else around him. If he's your weakest link, like you can live with that. So I've got him leading off playing right field. I've got Westberg second at third base, Gunnar third at shortstop, Alonso fourth at first base against right-handed pitching, Ward in left field batting fifth, Rutschman batting sixth, catcher DH, Basayo batting seventh, catcher DH, Kalser batting eighth in center field, and Holiday ninth at second base. Against left-handed pitching, Holiday at second, Westberg at third, Gunnar at short, Alonso at first, Ward in left field, O'Neill in right. We can't forget we've got Tyler O'Neill still on this roster. O'Neill in right field batting seventh. Batting sixth. Rutschman catcher DH batting eighth. Basayo catcher DH batting eighth, and Kalser in center field batting ninth. And like Tyler O'Neill, like if he plays even just 100 games, he's going to hit close to 30 home runs, and that and that's assuming that he's here too. There's so many moving parts with this roster right now because of the addition of Pete Alonso. Like dudes that are here right now aren't going to be here in a month, 2 months. Yeah. And so I look at this lineup and I think it makes you strong top to bottom. You've got Kalser either batting eighth or ninth, and you can live with your 8-hitter hitting 220, who's going to hit 20
close
plus
to 20 bombs,
with 20 plus home runs, and having close to 200 strikeouts. You can live with that because he's your 8th or 9th hitter. You're not having him batting 5th for you. Like you can 100% live with that. So that's my take on it. That's my opinion on what the lineup should be. But again, the idea of Gunnar, I think you may have sold me on Gunnar and Alonso hitting 1-2 in this lineup. I think you may have sold me on that because that's.
We're not talking about like it. We always heard, especially 10 plus years ago and everything, where you want your best hitters 3-4 and everybody your power threats and everything. But there's an argument to be made that. Guess what? 1 and 2, you want your best guys getting the most at bats out of anybody.
Yeah.
So there's an argument to be made there. Now, another idea. Now, I've always had in my little lineup projections too. I've always had Westberg in that 2 spot and Ward 5th myself. But I've also played with the idea of sandwiching Gunnar in between Ward and Alonso.
Sandwiching Gunnar in between Ward and Alonso.
Like Ward 1 spot above Gunnar and Alonso right behind him.
So like who? So then who's hit? Because I'm assuming then that you're hitting Gunnar 3rd,
right?
And Alonso 4, which means Ward's going to hit 2nd.
And then
does putting Ward 2nd? Does the 228 and 3 average and 317 on base percentage worry you when at 175 strikeouts when it comes to a 2-hitter?
Possibly it does. Maybe that's an avenue you pursue against left-handed pitchers because Ward absolutely demolishes them. And
that's a great point.
And it's nice to sandwich Gunnar between the lefty mashers. Westberg isn't necessarily a lefty masher. He's kind of even split. Sometimes leans a little bit more favorably against righties. So it might be nice to sandwich Gunnar right between the lefty mashers, make that a tough matchup thing for an opposing manager each night.
Yeah, and think about what Westberg is going to do. And Westberg's biggest issue is staying healthy. And he's not unhealthy. It's kind of like what started to happen to Nolan Reimold, right? Where it was some kind of freak thing. He gets hit on the hand by a pitch and he's out for 7 weeks because they broke his hand, right?
Yep.
Or he slides into second base and turns his ankle when trying to beat the tag on the pop-up slide. Or, the back thing, he had to sleep on a sofa bed that had a bar right in the middle of it, like that Seinfeld episode. Like, it's not like, oh, he was running and pulled his hamstring, or he turned the wrong way and strained an oblique. It's like freak stuff that generally doesn't happen. So what you're looking at, he also jammed his finger sliding into second base twice. So just wear an oven mitt. Westberg staying healthy, if you get 140 games out of Jordan Westberg, he's going to hit 30 home runs and he's going to drive in 100. And he's going to hit about 275 while giving you solid defense at third base. Like, Jordan Westberg is such a good player, and he is so important to this lineup. And now that you've added a couple of guys who just mash home runs, batting him second or batting him fifth, wherever you want to put him, he's going to be a force because he's got so much protection around him. If he's batting second, and then right after Westberg, you've got Gunnar, Alonso, and Ward. Like, who the hell do you pitch to? And you don't want to face those guys with Westberg on base. So you've got to give him something to hit and hope that he gets out. You don't want to face that murderer's row right there. Oh my gosh. That's just what Pete Alonso does, man. It's just so exciting to add that dude to this roster. And really just see the domino effect it's going to have to the rest of this lineup.
And they had to do it on Kobe Mayo's birthday.
Oh, I know, right? They add Kobe Mayo's birthday. Congratulations, we just signed your replacement, and you're probably not going to be here anymore. Today's show is brought to you also by our upcoming Chick-fil-A event. You can join Glenn Clark, Drew Forrester, and Ravens wide receiver Tez Walker this Monday night at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square for our annual Helping Up Mission Collection event. Bring coats, jackets, and other gently used or new clothes to help those in need. With your donation, you'll not only be able to meet Tez, but you'll also receive a free Chick-fil-A sandwich. That's Monday night, December 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square, 5198 Campbell Boulevard in the Nottingham Square Shopping Center with Glenn Clark, Drew Forrester, and Ravens receiver Tez Walker. Help us help helping up mission. You just mentioned Kobe Mayo and how Alonso got signed on Mayo's birthday. He's gone. Oh, yeah. Kobe Mayo is gone. And I would love to envision a world where somehow they keep him and he becomes a 30 to 40 home run guy as well. I just don't know where you'd play him. No. And Mountcastle is almost assuredly gone. He could still be non-tendered. They tendered him a contract. Yeah, what I mean is they tendered him a contract, but they can still DFA him. He hasn't signed anything yet, so they could still DFA him, but I think that they're going to try and trade him, and they're going to try and trade Mayo, and I think Mayo is going to be centerpiece for a starting pitcher. I absolutely think he's going to be the centerpiece for a starting pitcher, but they're both gone. There's no place for them.
Right, and honestly, I think a lot of people were surprised when they tendered Mountcastle a contract because the whole premise around heading into this offseason was there's no place for both Mountcastle and Mayo, both right-handed first baseman onlys, on the same roster. There's no roster flexibility by carrying both of them. Why did they tender Mountcastle a contract? I think they were heading into this offseason with being prepared to trade Kobe Mayo whether they got Pete Alonso or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they were willing to sacrifice, okay, Kobe Mayo is going to be the centerpiece for a trade for a top-of-the-rotation starter or someone that fits in a 1 or 2 slot, whatever it may be, and we're going to tender Mountcastle a contract as insurance in case we can't sign a Pete Alonso, then maybe we're entering next season with a platoon of Basayo and Mountcastle at first base. Mm-hmm. That type of situation. And maybe that would have been the case if they signed Kyle Schwarber.
And I think that was they give that contract. They make that contract offer to Schwarber. I think that Schwarber was their top target going into the offseason. Like, hey, we want to add this guy to our lineup with that short porch in right field. That's going to sell tickets. He might hit the warehouse. Let's bring in Kyle Schwarber. We'll platoon Mountcastle and Basayo at first base when Basayo's not catching. So, but when they're facing left-handed pitching, it's going to be Mountcastle playing first base, Rutschman catching, and Basayo DHing. When they're facing right-handed pitching, it's Basayo at first base, Rutschman Rutschman catching, but then it doesn't really leave much room for Basayo catching. Like if that was the
right,
the plan.
That was what always made me curious about the whole Schwarber pursuit. Schwarber's bat is absolutely insane, and I get why you do it.
He walks 100 times a year.
Exactly. He provides everything that you could want and more to a lineup. It's just the roster flexibility portion of it where he is a DH only, and you are not going to be able to use that designated hitter spot to get guys days off or anything because that's Kyle Schwarber's spot.
Mm-hmm.
So signing Pete Alonso, even though he's a first baseman only, it does give you a little bit more flexibility with your lineup to play with that DH spot. So if you would have signed Schwarber, then you probably would have been entering this season with Basayo strictly being a platoon player, playing first base or behind the plate against righties, and against lefties, Mountcastle's at first base.
But I think that also the plan is you don't give Basayo that contract extension without planning on playing him every single day. So whether he's at first base, whether he's catching, whether he's DHing, he's going to be in that lineup every single day because they believe that I believe that his bat is special, and I also believe that he's a front runner for Rookie of the Year. And mm-hmm. He had his growing pains coming up in late August last season. Had his growing pains, and so did Dylan Beavers. Beavers more towards the end of the season, but he's a guy that puts the bat on the ball. He knows how to make contact when he needs to make contact, and he's been compared to Juan Soto. Not saying that he is Juan Soto, but he has drawn comparisons to Juan Soto. I'm trying to find last two and getting back to Alonso, and people were because he's going to play first base every day. That's his position. They're not going to DH him. And I'm sure that was part of him signing here. It's like, look, I want to play first base every day. I want to be part of the game. I want to impact the game on both sides. His defense, in like fielding, it's mediocre, right? It's average. It's not great. But I found
taking the ball.
Right, that's what I'm alluding to.
Sorry.
First baseman scoops leaders the last 2 seasons, and this is from Zach Moore's Twitter handle at Pigtown Sports. Pete Alonso, 68 scoops, 20 more than the next best player, Vladimir Guerrero at 48. So, yeah, maybe a ground ball to his right he won't get to, and maybe you shift Holiday over a little bit more to make up for that, depending on who's hitting. But he's going to save a lot of throwing errors. And that's what Ryan Mountcastle is kind of what we love the most about him is he saves a lot of errors with his ability to pick the ball over at first base. And he does make some solid diving plays, and Alonso will make his share of plays as well. Every first baseman that plays that number of games does, but his ability to pick the ball, 68 scoops the last 2 seasons, 20 more than the next best player. Like, I'm good. You tell me the Orioles just had a guy who's probably going to hit 40 home runs this year, driving 120, and he's going to save more errors than any other first baseman because of his ability to pick the ball out of the dirt. Cool.
Sign me up.
So what? He can't make the diving play in the hole at first base. All right. So, okay, cool. And that's why you need to have a good – Jackson Holiday really needs to become a legit defender at second base. He absolutely does.
He struggled a little bit this past season.
Well, and the year before, he needs to get better. That range needs to get better. And it's totally different. People are like, well, if he can play shortstop, he can play second. It's a totally different angle. I remember and I'm only using my experience because I still played baseball and I'm a middle infielder. And so a couple of years ago we were practicing and I'm playing shortstop and I'm fielding everything. I'm feeling everything, making all my throws and all that. They were like, all right, let's get this guy some work at short. Paul, move over to second. I moved over to second. I probably had 7 errors in a row because it's a completely different angle at second base. It's like playing left tackle compared to right tackle. It's a completely different angle. The ball comes off the bat differently. It is 100% not the same. And that's why Gunnar struggled playing second base. Jackson struggled playing second base. But the infield defense, if Alonso doesn't have that range, your second baseman needs to be better. But I'm excited about this infield. I think that this infield is going to be one of the best in baseball. Greg Alvarez is coming in here saying that he is preaching fundamentals, and the number of players that he talked to, one of the first things that they all expressed to him is, we want to be fundamentally sound. We want to be so much better fielding the baseball. And I think that that's going to be important. I am not worried about Pete Alonso's defense whatsoever. No. Not at all. If you miss anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Buck Showalter, Brian Billick, Marvin Lewis, Brad Nessler, Mike Mayock, and Tracy Wolfson, you can find that and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. And as always, watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here at PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. So, Dillon, we've spoken at length for 40-plus minutes now about Pete Alonso. Let's talk about what else the Orioles have to do here. And this is important because they said they are still going to be active at the top of the pitching market. Elias said in that, Rubenstein said in the press conference with Alonso yesterday that there's going to be, that they have the budget to go out and sign whatever players they need to sign to make this a championship roster.
Yep.
Mike Elias added to that, we have an unlimited budget. They are still about $30 million below last year's payroll. Yeah. They're still about $30 million below last year's payroll. And they said that they're willing to go into the red to improve this roster. Going into the red means spending about $245 million on your roster. So
I don't think they're going to do that, but
I don't think that they're adding another $100+ million to this roster. But it tells me that they're going to go out there and get whatever they need to get to make this team better. Starting pitching. That's the next big target. There's a number of names that are still out there that's not pitching that I think the Orioles are still going to try and make a move for. But that's going to be after they address their starting rotation. As it stands right now, your starting rotation is Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers, Tyler Wells, Dean Kramer, Cade Povich. That's your starting rotation. That ain't good enough. And they know that. They know that. And they wouldn't have traded Grayson Rodriguez if they were playing on standing pat. Now, I've also heard that they are concerned about Framber Valdez's clubhouse presence. That he is known to kind of be a cancer in the clubhouse. I've heard that they're concerned about that. Ranger Suarez is looking for, and these are the top two pitchers on the market right now. Ranger Suarez is looking for a 7-year deal. He's put on weight, and his fastball velocity has dipped each of the last 3 years considerably. Mm-hmm. And they're concerned about that, to give him 7 years. If it was 5 years, maybe they're in on it. 7 years, I wouldn't want to give 7 years to a guy who's putting on weight and losing velocity. I immediately think of Giovanni Gallardo when I hear that, right? So I think that what they're going to do, first and foremost, is address the rotation through a trade. Yeah. Apparently, they've been having ongoing conversations with the Nationals this offseason regarding Mackenzie Gore. They've checked in with the Brewers on Freddie Peralta, and are believed to be in on him if the Brewers are willing to pull the trigger there. I think they're going to want Jackson Holliday, though, and you have to decide, are you willing to give up Jackson Holliday for a rental? Now, but if maybe he's not a rental, if he looks at this roster and he's like, look at all the dudes they have in this lineup, sign me up, you know? Right. Who's the other? Oh, they've been having ongoing conversations with Edward Cabrera and with the Marlins about Edward Cabrera. What are they going to want? Somebody posted yesterday, and it's not true, that they were finalizing a deal to send Kobe Mayo and Colton Cowser to the Marlins for Edward Cabrera. The talent and the potential and the ceiling for Cabrera is way up here. The results tell you he's a number 3 or a number 4 starting pitcher.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not giving up 2 major league power hitters for Edward Cabrera. You're not doing that. So whoever posted that, sorry, that ain't happening. It's not happening. So I don't know what.
I could see Kobe Mayo being in a deal for
Oh yeah, Kobe Mayo 100% would be.
Kobe Mayo plus prospect plus a couple throw-ins on prospects. I could see that.
Well, and they're probably gonna want
their major league roster for Edward Cabrera,
and they're probably gonna want controllable starting pitching in return that's close to big league ready. And so when you think about that, you think of a Brandon Young, a Cade Povich, a Trey Gibson. Are you willing to give up a Trey Gibson, who's your top pitching prospect, for as part of a package that also includes Kobe Mayo to get Edward Cabrera? What's it gonna? Because he's got like 4 years of control. Mackenzie Gore's got 2 years of control left. Probably costs a little bit less, right? And but he probably still costs you Kobe Mayo. So, and I don't want to hate Kobe Mayo, and I would find it hard not to if he's playing for the Nationals. So there's something about the Nationals, and it's probably that FP Santenzo, Bob Carpenter broadcast duo for years that just had your skin crawling with everything they said. That made me hate the Nationals so much. But amongst other things, like coming into our backyard and taking a third of our fan base, but that's a story for another day. I don't know. I firmly believe that the Orioles are signing a free agent starter and that they're trading for a starter. But I think that the trade for a starter happens first, and then maybe they sign like a Michael King, who, when he's healthy, hell of a pitcher, one of the best in baseball. But he's got to be healthy, and he made 15 starts last year. So you sign a Michael King, you make a trade for a starting pitcher, and then you also think about the fact that when that happens, when and if that happens, what's Michael King going to cost you? $20 million a year?
You're probably talking 4-year deal in the $20 to $23 million range per year.
Right. So you add that, and then you add another starting pitcher via trade. Freddie Peralta's going to cost you $8 million this year. Mackenzie Gore's going to cost you $8 million this year. Cabrera is going to cost you league minimum this year. Now you're talking about the fact that, like, okay, so the Orioles just got their 2 starting pitchers and didn't even spent maybe $30 million between the 2 of those pitchers. Now the payroll is right around what it was last year. You don't have a starting center fielder on your team unless you really trust Colton Cowser to be your everyday center fielder. And everything that comes along with that, like the powerful arm but the inaccuracy, the 40% strikeout rate, like the inability to hit anything other than the fastball, like that's what you're kind of banking on to be in center field. So then do you say, all right, Tucker's still out there. Bellinger's still out there. I could put Beavers in center field. I could put Tucker in center field. I could put Bellinger in center field. Then you're looking, okay, are you trading a Colton Cowser and saying, we're trading Colton Cowser and his 40% strikeout rate and replacing him with Cody Bellinger, who can also play first base in all 3 outfield spots, or Kyle Tucker, who is the best free agent on the market?
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to make this whole thing a pipe dream and be like those Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Dodgers fans where it's like, well, what if they sign Alonso and Schwarber and Tucker? I'm not trying to be that guy. But them saying, I'm reading between the lines here, we have unlimited payroll. Elias also said there's still potential for us to add to our lineup. Reading between the lines there, those guys are very much still in play for this ball club. But they're on the back burner, and it's weird to say that guys like like Tucker and Bellinger are on the back burner they are going to bring in at least one starting pitcher before they even look at those two guys.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, no matter how much more you want to address the offense this season, you really can't justify letting good quality pitching go by while you're trying to make your offense even more dominant, and all of a sudden Freddie Peralta gets traded to the Yankees, and Mackenzie Gore goes here, Edward Cabrera goes there, and Framber Valdez signs elsewhere because you were pushing hard for Cody Bellinger. You can't let that happen.
Exactly.
So yeah, I agree. I think they're going to be pushing mostly. I think they're going to try to get two pitchers in the door before they even think about trying to readdress the offense.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? Is for all the things that you just said, like we missed out on these guys because we were trying to add more firepower to a lineup that's arguably already the best in baseball. But if you bring in two legitimate starting pitchers to add to a rotation that already has, two Cy Young candidates, and I say that because Trevor Rogers finished 9th in Cy Young voting, and he was in the Cy Young picture his rookie year, right? Kyle Bradish finished 4th in Cy Young voting in 2023 and was on his way to a similar season in 2024. And this is all pitching with a partially torn UCL, right? Yeah. Then he comes back after Tommy John surgery and looks as good as he's ever looked in his 6 starts after that. So Kyle Bradish is absolutely a Cy Young caliber pitcher, in my opinion. Trevor Rogers, he's got to do it for more than 19 starts. But yeah. Trevor Rogers looked like one of the best pitchers in baseball, one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball. Then you add one of these guys that we've mentioned, two of these guys that we've mentioned to this rotation. Then you have that conversation with Tucker or Bellinger, and it's like, look at that lineup, look at that rotation. I'll take Bellinger says, I'll take $21 million a year to play on this team.
Right.
Tucker says, I'll instead of going 10 years, $400 million, I'll take 5 years at $250 million or $225 million. The higher average annual value, but less years. I'll take less years to go potentially win multiple world championships with this ball club. It makes your pitch to the rest of the league that much better if you've added Pete Alonso, you've added Andrew Kittredge, you've added Ryan Helsley and Taylor Ward, and then you go out and get Framber Valdez and Michael King, or Michael King and Mackenzie Gore. You've added those two guys. Everybody else around the league is like, this is the best team in baseball. I want to play there. Right. And it's weird for me to say it, and I know that this could be taken out of context, but you suddenly become the Dodgers of the East, right? Like when you look at it, not the Dodgers, but when you look at the Orioles, it's like the Orioles and the Blue Jays. If they do all the stuff that I feel like they like, and it's weird to say it because it's like, it does sound like a pipe dream, but yeah. Is it? Is it? Because they're going to add 2 starting pitchers. Is it a pipe dream? I'm not sure that it is. I put it 50-50 that everything that I just laid out there happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's no secret. They are going to add 2 starting pitchers.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
We're just not exactly sure which 2 that's going to be yet. We know they're going to add to their rotation at least one of those guys. One of the guys they add is going to be one that you're either slotting ahead of or right behind Kyle Bradish in that rotation. Mm-hmm. We know that at least one is going to happen, possibly 2 for up there, but that second one could be a guy who's more of a back-end innings eater. We'll see. But 2 starting pitcher ads are going to happen, and if one of them's happening via trade, depending on who the Orioles give up could signify what they're doing next. If they give up a Dylan Beavers or a Colton Cowser in one of those trades for a starting pitcher, that could shine a light bulb off in her head going, oh, they might be going after Tucker or Bellinger now. Now, if one of those guys are not relinquished in a trade for a starting pitcher, then we might be able to sit back and say, I don't think they're going to push as hard for Bellinger or Tucker. They might be done with the starting offense.
Well, and then it leads you to, your mind starts to wander, well, if they sign a free agent first, and then because you don't want to trade somebody who's projected to be an everyday part of your lineup like a Kowser or a Beavers, without knowing that you can sign one of those two guys, one of Bellinger or Tucker. You don't do, unless your plan is to bring in Harrison Bader and make him your starting center fielder and bat him ninth, where you can live with a guy who's going to hit 250 with 17 home runs and 20 steals.
I wouldn't, and Bader at the bottom of the lineup.
And see, I'm not a Harrison Bader guy, because I don't think that he should be like a big signing for a team. But when you've got what the Orioles have, and then you bring in a dude like Harrison Bader who can give you good defense and bat ninth, and he's still got some pop and can still get on base at a decent clip and steal some bags for you, I like that move a lot more than if he was, because like the 2024 Orioles probably bring in Harrison Bader and hype him up as like this big addition to the lineup. You know what I mean? Batting leadoff. We got Harrison Bader. Like, he's a solid player. He's not that difference maker. But like, you don't need 30 home runs and 80 to 100 RBI from everybody in your lineup. If he can give you great things, he's going to give you better defense in center field than any other player on your current roster. And if it is a pipe dream to bring in a Tucker or a Bellinger to add to this lineup, Harrison Bader is much more realistic because you've got to be strong up the middle. You've got to be strong up the middle, and they're going to be strong at catcher. They're going to be strong at shortstop with Gunnar. And Harrison Bader, you can do a lot worse when you look at how this lineup is currently constructed. Having him play center field.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, and really, when it comes down to Bellinger or Tucker, I would love to see it happen. I just don't see it happening. And a big reason is, I think with Orioles taking Alonso off the market and Schwarber's gone now and everything, I think a number of other clubs, including the New York Mets, are going to be that much more desperate to get those deals done here maybe in the next week.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is the only reason we're even able to have these conversations still, how Bellinger is still out there, I have no idea. And honestly,
I think he's going to be a Met.
You think so? He seems like a Met. Doesn't he just seem like a New York Met?
He does.
He just, like, you can absolutely just picture him in a Mets uniform,
yes,
playing in that ballpark. You just see it, you know.
Yeah.
But if he becomes a Met, is there any chance that the Yankees aren't going hard, full court press on Kyle Tucker?
I think the Yankees could very well be coming away with either bringing back Bellinger to the Bronx, or if they don't get him, it might be full court press on Kyle Tucker for them.
Oh my gosh. But I would just be licking my fingers, eating it all up, to see the Yankees, their main target, and it's clear that their main target this entire offseason is Cody Bellinger. Just to see him signing with the Orioles right before Christmas and just being like, ha! Like, oh, I need it. I need that. But the whole reason that we can even have this conversation, Pete Alonso, like Kyle Schwarber signed on Tuesday. Pete Alonso signed on Wednesday. There was a domino effect. And it's been crickets since.
Yeah.
It's Saturday. And Tucker and Bellinger are still out there. Which leads me to believe that Bellinger wants more money than most teams think he's worth. And Tucker wants more years than most teams are willing to give him. And that's what I'm looking at regarding these two guys. Like, does Bellinger think that he's worth $28 million a year? Does Kyle Tucker want 10 to 12 years? Like that's is that what's happening right now? You know, and that's why it's like we can still have these conversations about this, And then if that's what they want, but then the Orioles say, okay, we added these two guys to our rotation. We added Pete Alonso. We added these because they got to get another reliever. We added these three guys to the back end of our bullpen. Not to mention the fact that they signed those two pitchers. Now Tyler Wells is absolutely going into your bullpen, right? So
that's an internal addition just by pushing him out of the rotation,
and that's where he should be anyway. Is a guy who fills that Albert Suarez role, who can make a spot start for you, can be a swingman. You can deploy him in the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, wherever you need him, and he's going to go in there and get big outs for you.
Yeah.
Now, is there another team outside of the Dodgers and the Blue Jays that can now go to Tucker and Ballinger and say, hey, look, we can't give you $28 million a year. We can't give you 10 years, but we can give you $24 million a year. We can give you 6 years, 7 years with a higher average annual value. Come on, what's the GIF of Dave Chappelle being Rick James going? Yeah, you can just see that, right? Yeah, like it makes that much more realistic. But they got to go get those starting pitchers first. They absolutely have to go get those starting pitchers first. Those of you tuning in, we want to get to your opinions. We want your opinions. We want your thoughts. Please continue to comment. We're going to get to those here in just a minute. Also want to remind everybody, these are the final couple days to pick up the current issue of Press Box featuring Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith on the cover. You can find the new issue for free all throughout the region, including now at all Baltimore area High's dairy stores, or you can read the entire issue of PressBoxOnline.com. Coming this Wednesday, our annual Best of issue is hitting stands, featuring our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year on the cover, and a celebration of the top people, performances, and moments of 2025. Get out to your local High's dairy stores today to get the current issue, and on Wednesday you can get the new issue, Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, on the cover. All right, let's get to some of these interactions here. Like the first 25 minutes of the show, nobody was commenting. I'm like, why is nobody commenting? What's happening here? And now we got a lot of comments, so let's get to them. Tracy Miller, I want Frankie V next. I'm sure you mean Framber Valdez. Look, they could do a lot worse than getting Framber Valdez on this team. The clubhouse concerns, they're legitimate, but I don't firmly believe that one guy is going to ruin the culture of an entire 26-man roster. I don't think that that's going to happen, and I also think that guy is more likely to fall in line when you have the rest of those personalities around him that are demanding it. So, go ahead.
And they've won a World Series with Framber Valdez. So he didn't necessarily destroy the Houston Astros from every contending opportunity. They've won with him.
Yeah, and you look at the people in place, they're not going to let him get to a point where he's intentionally crossing up his catcher. Like, that's not going to happen. And if he does that, is Adley not going to be like, dude, are you kidding me? I just don't see that. It was a bad look that it happened once. I cannot imagine that happens again. And if that's the main issue, and yeah, he was bad in August and worse in September, but the ground ball rate is elite. He pitches to a lot of hard contact, but this is the premier left-handed pitcher on the market right now. I still think the Orioles should be all in on him. Clubhouse concerns, deal with the clubhouse concerns when they arise. You can't not add to your roster just because you think a guy, might have a bad attitude Monday morning. Just go get it done.
Yep.
Met Hose 123. The O's should now offer Tucker. I think I know that guy, and that wasn't always his name. The O's should now offer Tucker a 5 to 7 year, $45 million per year deal, and Tucker becomes an Oriole with Alonso. Elias is close to Tucker and trade for Peralta and Gore. That's what we were just discussing. And especially if you trade for your two starting pitcher additions, you're getting rid of potentially Kowser and Beavers. So
yeah,
and probably Enrique Bradfield, and now you really don't have anybody to play center field. The Orioles make the trade for two starting pitchers. It's almost assured that they're going to go hard after either Tucker or Bellinger, because you've got to have somebody out there. Because Ward's playing every day in left field or right field. Tyler O'Neill is here, and he's not going to clog up that DH hole. And you're not going to trade – I don't think you're going to trade both Kowser and Beavers, but you're going to trade one of them. Now you absolutely need to bring somebody else in. I still think you need to bring somebody else in, because I don't really want Kelvin Kowser being the everyday center fielder for this ball club.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, if Kowser's going to be in center field, I could absolutely see a situation where you have Leody Taveras getting starts against lefties. If Leody Taveras can go back to where he was at the top of his game, he was better from the right side of the plate against lefties. So that is an option. Not one to get excited about, but it's possible.
If Taveras is anything more than a fourth or fifth outfielder on this roster, I have a serious problem with that. He's a bum. He's just not good. Adit Mahmood, 5737. Adit says, if Mike Elias is very passive when he's cautious, I feel like you'd be surprisingly but smartly aggressive when he is allowed to. Well, he's been aggressive. The Orioles have, to this point, pretty much won the offseason, right? To this point, they've pretty much won the offseason. They've added 2 back-end relievers. They've added 2 thumpers for the middle of their order, and they're going to add more starting pitching. They basically won the offseason so far when he's been aggressive. And, this is Mike Elias operating knowing his job's on the line, right? That. He's operating knowing his job's on the line. I think he's already been smartly aggressive. We still got 2 months until spring training starts. I'm super excited for what's to come. It's such a weird feeling being this kind of an Orioles fan.
It is.
Or a fan of this kind of Orioles franchise, right?
Yep.
Met Hose. Right now the O's have $47 million to spend, and this $47 million brings a payroll equal to last season's payroll. So the O's would have increased the payroll by at least $40 million. I think that they want to. They said we're going to go above last year's payroll. We're willing to spend the money. They're still $30 million under. At this point, and that's why I'm so excited. What are you spending that money on? Now you don't have to. And maybe because Boris was at that press conference and he said that he's spoken with Westberg, Gunnar, and Jackson Holliday, his 3 clients that are currently with the Orioles, now in addition to Alonso. And he said that they're super excited and proud of what this franchise is now willing to do to show that they plan to contend now and in the future. Does some of that money get spent on extending some of those guys? And
have you ever thought about the fact that the Orioles now have a full Boris infield?
Oh my God, yeah, they do. Their entire infield is Scott Boras. Maybe what happens now is, we go get starting pitching, and you don't sign Kyle Tucker, you don't sign Cody Bellinger, you sign Harrison Bader, and you lock up Gunnar with a friggin' record-setting deal for a shortstop in this franchise. I'm not sure that you're at a position yet where you're ready to lock up Holiday. He got better last year than he was the year before. He's just turned 22 a week ago, but he's got to be better than what he was last year before you start having those extension talks. Gunner's that dude, and if you lock him up now, you may save a little bit of money because of the season I think he's about to have. That dude's getting 12 years, $600 million easy. With the season with the season that he's about to have, but you lock him up after he hit 17 home runs and drove in 68 on a losing on a last place ball club. Maybe you get him 12 for 480, which is still a ton of freaking money. But the season that Gunner's about to have, provided that he plays 150 games,
going to make him a lot of money.
Oh my God, he's gonna go nuts! I legitimately think he's gonna be a serious MVP candidate with the season he's about to put up now with the protection that he has in that lineup. But are you good? They add. I already know the answer to this. You're not gonna say no. You're good if you get 2 starting pitchers and then you lock up Gunnar Henderson. or you lock up Jordan Westburg. Like that's what they spent the money. Cool. Fine by me. You know, like, oh man, I don't know what to do with myself. You know, I've never experienced this since.
Knowing what to do with our hands.
Yeah, like we gotta cut the axe on the fans that we used to be. We gotta get used to not being fans of a poverty franchise, man. It's woo! I'm just excited. I'm just so happy.
4 people around.
I'm just so happy right now. The O's have $80 million to get both Tucker and Imai, but at $45 and $35 million for both. Sign both now. Finish trade for Gore and Peralta. Now the O's go to and win the World Series. Jesus. We gotta stop. The thing is, they could absolutely do this. The way that they're talking, like, they could absolutely do this. I can't, though. I can't have this conversation, because now that's what I want them to do. Now that's what I want them to do, and I'm going to be upset if they don't do it, and, like, my balloon's going to be popped, and I don't want to put myself in that situation, because signing Pete Alonso alone, so somehow one of my wife's hairs got intertwined in my wedding ring, but, like, signing Pete Alonso alone should just have me, like, for the rest of the offseason. But now if they don't bring in Tucker and Imai to go along with a Gore or Peralta, it's like, damn it! Oh, I punched my webcam off the top of my computer. Like, look, I'm not going to be upset if they don't do that, because I know that they're bringing in more, like, 2 starting pitchers. I know that they're going to. But, man, can you imagine? Talk me off of my hot air balloon right now.
Realistically, go back to the beginning of the offseason, okay? If I were to tell you the Orioles are going to address a number 1 or 2 starter, a number 3 or 4 starter, and sign Pete Alonso and sign Ryan Helsley, end of offseason, what would your reaction be at the beginning of this offseason?
Dude, sign me up for a season ticket plan.
There you go. I talked you off your hot air balloon.
Yeah. Right. And being realistic, I do firmly believe that Tucker and Bellinger is way more possible than people want to admit. Like, I really firmly believe that this is a possible thing that could happen. I don't think Imai is happening. I think that he ends up with the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Phillies. He's going to end up somewhere, and it's not going to be Baltimore.
We have some MLB news here that just dropped. The New York Mets have made their move for Jorge Polanco. They've just signed Jorge Polanco.
Okay, that's
their Alonso response.
Well, Jorge Polanco's a good player, right? Let's look up.
Well, they're probably going to move Vientos over to first base, and Polanco can go play elsewhere in the infield.
Yeah, I mean, Polanco's coming off a year where he hit 26 homers, drove in 78, OPS plus of 134, OPS of 821. You're looking at a guy who, in 2021 had an 826 OPS, hit 33 homers, drove in 98. Fell off the next few seasons, but that was also because he wasn't really he was hurt a lot. But when he posts up and plays every day, he's going to hit you 20 to 30 home runs and drive in close to 100. That's not it's not Pete Alonso, but it's a good signing. He's a solid player who makes the Mets better than they were yesterday. That's a solid player. It would have been so crazy if it was like the Mets have signed Imai or Kyle Tucker as we're talking about it.
The Mets, really, right as you're talking about the possibilities of Tucker or Bellinger, and I'm just like, the Mets have signed a joint contract for both Tucker and Bellinger. Right.
Like, I still wouldn't be upset. I feel some kind of way, like, damn, I really wanted one of those guys. But, like, it's like the Orioles are going to be, the O's are going to be fine. All right, let's get back to some more comments. Adamantis, I got very OCD checking Twitter during the winter meetings too. Worth it, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, man! Like I got like no work done that week. Like I was at work. I got work done just in case my boss is tuning in. I got work done. I got stuff done. But I was refreshing my feed every 35 seconds and getting anxiety over it. And then when they signed Alonso, I had all this stuff I was planning to do around the house. I was doing like a honey-do list day because I knew that I was, supplementing my work day with like a bunch of stuff that I was doing Thursday and on the weekend. And I got none of that done. I just sat there like watching as much as I could on Pete Alonso signing with the Orioles and like, oh, who's next? Totally worth it. Totally worth it to be feeling the way that I'm feeling right now. And like, there was not a single point last year where I felt like this. But there hasn't been a single point. The last time I felt like this was June 18th, 2024. Right after the Orioles lost the ball game 14-11, but they entered the eighth, losing 14-3 against the Astros, and they got the tying run on deck in the ninth inning. And I pronounced them the best team in baseball. And then immediately Kyle Bradish died. John Means died. Tyler Wells. Literally, and they were like 7 games under 500 from that point on. Like, that was the last time I felt like this about this ball club. It feels so good to be back. Like, it feels so good to be back.
One thing that feels real good is the kind of getting with the times that the Orioles front office and ownership is doing right now. And what I mean by that is going to the length of the years that guys are going to want on these contracts that might even be out of your comfort range. I mean, we saw in the reports that the Mets didn't want to go beyond 3 years for Pete Alonso. And we've seen in all these recent years past, we see all these 5-year deals, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year deals where we know in the back of our heads the last 2 years of those deals are going to look terrible, but the teams still know that they have to do that, knowing the last year or two of that deal might look awful.
Right.
But we have to if we want to lock this guy up. And we saw it even with last offseason with the Orioles trying to push for Corbin Burnes with a higher average value on a shorter term deal. And Corbin Burnes was saying, no, I want my long-term deal. And Elias wasn't going to budge on that.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get Corbin Burnes now. But now the Orioles finally got up to the plate and said, Mets aren't good. Mets don't even want to go beyond 3. We'll give you 5.
5.
Getting with it now on going to that length to say, even if the last 1 or 2 years of this deal don't look that great, worth it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you have to look at it from this perspective. The Yankees and Blue Jays each won 94 games this past year. You were supposed to be, after 2023 and the first half of 2024, they're supposed to be in your rear view. With this rebuild, with the players that you have on this roster, the talent you have, those two teams are supposed to be in your rear view. Now you look at the Yankees scored more runs than any team in baseball last year. The Blue Jays who were projected to be in 4th or 5th place last year. They go all the way to the World Series and we're a half an inch away from being World Series champions. And you're sitting here in last place, having fired your manager not even 2 months into the season. Your team is one of the worst offensive teams in baseball, and your rotation was like 7th worst. And you're like, how did we get here? By resting on your laurels and not doing the things that you need to do to make your ball club take that next step to championship caliber. Now it's like, we cannot let this continue. And the Blue Jays have only gotten better. The Red Sox have only gotten better. Yankees haven't done anything yet, but they're not gonna sit stagnant this offseason.
Oh, no.
They're lying in wait. To see them go out and say, last year was not okay, and we're gonna put our money where our mouth is. It's like, I don't know how to be this fan yet. Like, I don't know how to do it.
We'll work at it.
Yeah. I'm Adamantis. I'm an old guy. This signing thrilled me, like when the Orioles traded for Reggie Jackson, when Reggie was the top young slugger in baseball. We only had him for 1 year, though, not even a full year. He didn't report till May. Like, he didn't report to the team till May. I think he had 23 or 28 home runs. Imagine if he had played the full season. And he didn't want to be here. He did not want to play for the Orioles. And My mom met him. My mom has a great story that she tells about Reggie Jackson. She met him at like a Modell's sporting goods store, and there was like this whole crowd of people just demanding his autograph. And she met him, and she was like, "Do you want my autograph?" And like she offered to give him her autograph. He laughed. He went and used the bathroom, and then he helped my mom carry her stuff to her car that she bought. So that's my mom's Reggie Jackson story that she tells. The last time she told us, she accidentally said Frank Robinson. I was like, "There's no way, you were like a little girl when Frank Robinson was here." But that's her Reggie Jackson story. So apparently not that bad of a dude. Just didn't want to play in Baltimore.
Hey, but David Rubenstein says that we just signed Frank Robinson.
Yeah, if it turns out that Pete Alonso is that missing piece for this lineup, and then the Orioles go to 4 World Series in the next 6 years,
we're playing that clip forever,
and they win 2 of them, then yeah, like bravo. That was something to say.
I just absolutely love that. I think it was a question from Jerry Coleman asking Mike Elias, like, "Are you going to continue shopping at the top of the market for starting pitching?" And Rubenstein just cuts him off and was like, "I want to answer this one. Frank Robinson wore number 20. He came in for this young ball club and helped them win a World Series. Pete Alonso wore number 20. So this is just like that." I'm like, where did that come from?
Look, that's not even an answer to the question. That's just a statement. He was like, "I wanted to say this before, I'm getting older. Before I forget this line, let me get it out now. I'm worth a bajillion billion dollars. Shut up and let me say what I want to say." Screw your question, Jerry.
No pressure, Pete, but we think you're Frank Robinson.
Right. Adding Tucker solves your lineup issues. Cowser, Mayo, Mountcastle, and Povich should be used to get Peralta. Absolutely not. You're not giving up 3 big league bats that have hit in the middle of your order the last few years, and a big league arm for 1 year of Peralta.
Not to mention, the Brewers probably have the most depth at the outfield than any team in baseball right now. They don't need an outfielder.
Right. They don't need an outfielder.
They're actually looking to trade away an outfielder right now because they got too many.
And you're going to give them 2 first basemen. They've got Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn had a renaissance last year when he came over to them.
You guys hour-long jam.
Yeah, like exactly. Like you guys want to do that, right? And I'm not trying to make fun of you. It's just that like you have to look at the roster construction for the Brewers. The Brewers more realistically need a shortstop. They didn't re-sign Willie Adames, and Joey Ortiz is their everyday shortstop. And I love Joey Ortiz. That dude is like the ultimate glove first guy. He might hit 220 with 10 home runs his best year. Like they need a shortstop. They need a third baseman. Like they don't need a DH. That's Christian Yelich. They don't need any outfielders because they've got too many already. They don't need a first baseman. They need infielders and they need pitching. So
what you're saying is that we need another Joey Ortiz and DL Hall to redo this trade again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Like the only way is if maybe they view Mayo as a third base option. Did something just happen?
The Jorge Polanco deal with the Mets is 2 for $40 million, and their plan is for Jorge Polanco to be their everyday first baseman. I didn't even know he played first base.
Apparently now. Let's take a look here and see his career if he's ever played first base. I'm sure he's played it.
He started off as a shortstop only, but then recent years has been second and third.
His major league history at first base is 1 game in 2025. And he had 0 chances, 0 putouts. He never had a ball hit to him. It must have been for like the 9th inning.
Hey, he's never had an error there. Sign him up.
Yeah, like that's the extent of his experience at first base is 1 I guess, one inning in 2025.
That's a dicey game, and a lot of people will probably comment and say first base is the easiest position to play on the diamond. Yada yada yada. I'm tired of hearing it though. Not everyone can go and play first base.
It's not that hard. Tell them it's incredibly hard.
Exactly. It is. It absolutely is.
And you are active on 90% of the plays.
Yeah.
Throughout a given season. Like, it's incredibly difficult. Adit, if you can get Tucker, do you package Mayo and Beavers plus 1 to 2 other prospects for someone like Gore? Absolutely. You absolutely do. Like, in no world should you be valuing Kowser, Beavers, or Mayo over a Kyle Tucker. If you sign Tucker, you're trading multiple of those players. Yeah. And you're probably doing a salary dump with Tyler O'Neill, where you trade him to somebody and you eat a portion of his salary to get him off your roster. Like, if he's owed $17 million this year, you're eating $11 million of that to get more than half of that contract to get him off of your ball club to make room for somebody like that, and you're willing to do it. You know, that's the other thing that you have to think about is maybe part of this expenditure is paying somebody to not be here. You know. Mm-hmm.
And that might have to happen to facilitate a Mountcastle trade too, because in arbitration he's projected to get around $7 to $8 million, and realistically, I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of ball clubs lining up to try to trade you something of value to pay Mountcastle $8 million this year. So you might have to eat half that salary just to facilitate a deal, whether you're getting a couple low value prospects back, or if you're trying to get a reliever back or something. You know, to facilitate a Mountcastle deal, you might have to eat at least half that salary.
And Orioles fans are really overvaluing Ryan Mountcastle.
Yes.
He's a good player. He's not a 30-homer guy anymore. He just isn't. He's not, unless he goes to play.
He might not even be a 20-homer guy.
Unless he goes to play for the Athletics in Sacramento for the next year or two, he's not a 30-homer guy anymore. He's going to hit you about 270. He hits a lot of balls to right field now, kind of weakly. You know, and he's going to play decent defense at first base. But at $8 million a year, like, yeah, you can package him. He's going to start for somebody, but he's not him. He is part of a package. He's a throw-in on a package. He's not going to be a centerpiece of any deal. You're not getting anything worthwhile for just Ryan Mountcastle. It's just not going to happen. Right. Adit says they can be 80 to 85 million more in payroll before hitting the first luxury threshold if they DFA Mountcastle. Well, yeah, because he hasn't signed a contract yet. So if they DFA him, they're not on the hook for anything. If you DFA him after he signed the contract, you owe him that money, and he can sign with anybody for league minimum. So if you DFA him now, you don't owe him that money. I think you owe him league minimum. You know, I'm not quite sure how that works, but I know that until he signs that contract, you don't owe him anything. Today's show has been brought to you by County Sports Zone. Fall championship season has officially wrapped up at the high school level, and winter season is underway. All year long, find scores, schedules, and updates for every sport and every school all throughout the state at countysports.zone. Countysports.zone is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Winding down here on the bat around, special thanks again to Dillon Atkinson for joining us today in place of Zach Moore. A few more comments that we're going to get to here before we hop off for the week. Greg Greenberg, couldn't agree more, been saying as well, one sign, one trade for pitcher, and Tucker very much in play, especially after yesterday's conference. And I think that if you read between the lines, there is a likelihood. I don't know how strong the likelihood is. I think they're willing to go to shell out some money for one of these two dudes, Bellinger or Tucker, unless the money that they're spending is an extension for Gunnar, which I think that would also feed families.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If you sign Gunnar to an extension that makes him an Oriole for life, as long as you address the pitching in some manner, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know.
And even if it's not for life, Gunner's going to get 12 years. He's going to get 12 years. He's going to get close. He's going to get between 40 and 50 million a year for those 12 years, and then he's 20. He's 35. Like he's still going to play after that. But
I could absolutely see him topping Juan Soto's contract.
That's crazy money. That's crazy money.
I could see him topping that.
Well, with the year that he's about to have, if you're going to extend him, now's the time. You know,
Boris ain't going to let
Boris, he's not going to let that happen unless you give him $12,600 right now. Yeah. Adding Tucker, Imai, Peralta, and the O's are the big dog of the East costs $80 million and trade. Yeah, they absolutely are. They may be the big dog of the East anyway because again, they're going to add 2 starting pitchers. It's just we're getting into Yankees fan territory here. Like that's the territory we're getting in here talking about this. So I want to temper my expectations because if it doesn't, I don't want to be upset that the Orioles didn't sign Tucker or Bellinger after they got Alonso. I don't want to be upset about that. But I'm making it to where I'm going to be. Amiable. Imai should cost around $140 million, 5 to 7 years. Doable. Yeah, it just. I don't know, man. I don't even know what that's going to look like. I know he has till January to sign, or he has to go back. Was it to the KBO or the Nippon League, whichever league he pitched in? Is he going to get? Is he going to get that kind of money? He's going to get $20 to $30 million a year, having no experience pitching in the big leagues. Yeah, he's the best pitcher over there, but you don't know what you're going to get out of him. You'd like to think that you're going to get something great, but what if he's not? What if he's Sagano? And then you spent that kind of money. William Rogers, Ecker will fix Taveras. Do you need him to? Do we really want to plan on Taveras being a key part of this roster?
No, but if you think about it, there's always someone every season that you weren't planning on getting a damn thing from. That you end up loving by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's like, I wasn't expecting anything from you, but you've actually been pretty nice to have. So if Ecker can fix Taveras, I'm all for it.
Wasn't Ecker with Texas?
I believe so.
Wasn't Taveras with Texas?
Yeah.
So
that's where he spent the most of his career.
So we didn't fix him there. If he got worse there, how's he suddenly going to fix him here? That's
because we got Albernaz, baby.
Yeah. Gunnar Henderson.
Why do I think
Tucker?
Albie is going to be calling Pete Alonso Lonzy, isn't he?
If he's anything like Brandon Hyde, we got Petey, and we got Gunny, and we got Westy, and we got Calzy, and we got they're wicked good players.
I saw someone say that we need to have a fan section that's called either the zoo or the barn or something like that, because we got the polar bear, we've got a cow for Cowser, and we got beaver. So keep getting a bunch of.
we need what is it? Something with Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg, like how the West was won using our gunners. I don't know, something stupid like that. And then you're gonna have the Cowser's Corral, and you're gonna have Beaver's Dam, and then out in the parking lot, they're gonna have signs that say "Park your car at Camden Yards." That's. And then you're going to have a section that's all
Albie's Alley.
And then you're going to have a section just Alonso's hose. I don't know. There's going to be sections everywhere. The polar bear's iceberg. I don't know. Oh God. That's what the splash zone is going to turn into, the polar plunge, and it's just going to be freezing cold water. Especially on March 27th when it's 45 degrees at first pitch, and then he hits 2 home runs on opening day, and they're just getting crushed with 34-degree water. Let's go. I need it. Pump that into my veins. Oh, my God. Smashing people in the face with snowballs. We got a polar bear. We got a polar bear. Oh, my God. I'm going off the rails. The Orioles should sign Suarez or Valdez, trade for Gore or Cabrera. The next year, try to sign Peralta for 2027 as a free agent. Don't trade for Peralta; it would be a waste.
You're saying get Valdez, get Gore this year, and sign Peralta next year.
And so then Kyle Bradish and Trevor Rogers. Kyle Bradish. Well, Trevor Rogers is free agent at the end of the year. Do you let him walk if you do something like that? Man, why are we talking about what we're doing next year?
Don, I'm going down a rabbit hole now in my brain.
I can't handle it. We need a 4-hour show to really dissect everything that they could do. Man, imagine what the poor people are doing right now. Did you see that meme? Al Bundy. Imagine. I wonder what the poor people are doing right now. It's hard to have a great year when you were playing meaningless baseball. I don't know what that's in reference to. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe he's talking about Gunnar and what Gunnar did last year and what the Orioles as a whole did last year. That's got. Well, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, like as much as you want to be a gamer, but I'll tell you, the Gunnar is the one guy who you say Gunnar and Westberg to a certain extent are like the 1-2 guys that you saw that never stopped playing hard last year. Like Gunnar on a ground ball at second base was sprinting down the line. You know, trying to lead by example. You know, God, I'm so excited for the season he's about to have. Oh my goodness. The O's would extend Peralta with next year's budget, so there is no issue here. You know, maybe. I feel like a lot of these comments are becoming the same. He was in 24. Witten Judge had even more amazing years. I can't remember what that's in reference to. Let's see. As a Mets fan, I am livid. As a Mets fan, I'm livid. At least you're saying you're livid instead of being those people that were saying yesterday. He looks miserable. He doesn't want to be there, and he's going to suck in 2 years. Like, what? Why do you think he's going to suck in 2 years?
That's like the worst part of free agency is when you're a fan of a team and you have a big-time free agent and you want the team to bring him back, and then when it doesn't happen, you try to convince yourself why he wasn't the guy. And you try to tear him down. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just with Mets fans and Alonso. It's literally all 30 fan bases.
Yeah. Oh, it's the nature of the beast. It's the absolute nature of the beast. And some fan bases are worse than others about it. Like the Mets fans showed me some of their true colors yesterday. Man. Tyler Rogers, Luke Weaver, and Michael Kopech for another late inning arm. Well, Tyler Rogers just signed with the Blue Jays yesterday. So
he got
he's
a
out.
pretty nice deal for himself.
Yeah. What was it, like 3 years, $43 million, something like that? He got some.
Yeah, I think it was around 40. Yeah, something like that.
He got some good money to not even be a closer, right?
With a 4th-year option.
Is he the closer? Is he going to be the closer there?
I think they're still looking for a closer, aren't they?
Potentially. I don't know. I don't care. If they're not signing here, I don't care. Mayo, Povich for Gore. That won't get it done. Gore's got a couple of years of and Povich isn't good. Like, as a starting pitcher, Povich isn't good.
Povich, you can get by with Povich if you're entering the season as your number 5 starter. Not for just the Orioles. I'm just saying in general in Major League Baseball. He can get you by as your number 5. That's going to be about it. Right now, I have Cade Povich. He's either going to be starting the year in AAA Norfolk or he's going to be a long reliever out of the bullpen.
There's never been a pitcher that has screamed reliever more to me than Cade Povich. He will get through 3 innings just fine. He will get through the lineup one time just fine. You get into that 4th, 5th inning, and that's when the wheels fall off literally every single start. The times that he gets you 6 innings of 2 runs or less, they're anomalies for him. Povich as a reliever, love it. Povich as a starting pitcher, not good. And that he and combined with Mayo ain't getting you Mackenzie Gore. Like it's not going to happen. Like you're talking probably Mayo. You would have to add like Enrique Bradfield to that, or Mountcastle to that. Like those 2 alone, not getting you Mackenzie Gore. And like it's I don't know who it's going to take. I think Ecker clashed with Bochy in terms of leadership styles. Well, and that's probably why Bochy's not there anymore. Like he's very old school manager and he's old. I think it's strange that they gave Schumacher the keys to the castle, and then kind of tore down their roster. And they haven't done anything. I mean, adding Brandon Nimmo's fine, but you lost Marcus Semien, who, from all intents and purposes, from what I heard, is a clubhouse cancer. You're talking about trading Seager. You don't have Adolis Garcia anymore. I mean, your rotation is going to be solid, but I don't know. Your team got worse. You would think that with a new manager of Schumacher's caliber, that you would want to add a lot of talent. And look, the offseason's still young. They still could. I mean, they could go get Kyle Tucker. You know what I mean? But
we're not that far removed from the Texas Rangers going all in. When they signed Seager to the big deal, Semien to the big deal, it was like,
and won them a World Series.
They did. They won a World Series. It's just wild to see what that, they have good pieces over there. And for them to just start kind of tearing it all down, I mean, maybe it's not all torn down, but still, the direction they're moving is it's just a little puzzling right now for me.
Yeah, but again, it's mid-December. We're 2 months away from spring training. The winter meetings just ended, and let's not forget that the winter meetings is not the only time that you can make moves. It's when everything starts to happen, But I mean, Alonso didn't sign last year until what? The end of January, beginning of February. The same thing with Fried and Crochet, and I think Snell signed fairly early. But the year before that, Snell signed in February. Jordan Montgomery, after having a great year with Texas, signed fairly early. I mean, he signed in February and hadn't had a terrible year. A lot of these things trickle down into January and February and even into spring training. So now, Tucker, Bellinger, Peralta, or maybe not Peralta, but Valdez, Suarez, that's not going to trickle over the next 2 months. That's going to happen maybe even before the end of the year. But a lot of these guys, a lot of the moves are not going to be made till January or February. So, and then Adit said, I meant Taylor Rogers. Yeah, I mean, look, there's some of the relievers I would have wanted are still out there, are gone, but there's also some relievers that are still out there. But I also think that the Orioles look at their bullpen and they say, all right, we still want to add to the bullpen, but we're not making that our top priority. Let's go get some starting pitching. Then we'll look at the bullpen and see what else we can potentially do there. I don't think that they're making it a top priority right now.
Because in turn, when you improve your starting rotation, especially with two starters, you're in turn improving your bullpen by pushing a Tyler Wells and Cade Povich to the bullpen.
Right, and a Brandon Young even. If you view him as a big league pitcher, but maybe not a big league starter. So there's still a ton to be done this off season. There's a lot to happen right now. Super exciting with that. What has happened. We have a ton of optimism for the first time in a long time as Orioles fans. We have a team that's willing to spend money at an elite level to go get you the pieces that you need to win a World Series. This is probably the most exciting time it's been to be an Orioles fan since probably the middle of 2023. If you realistically think about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I tell you what, though, they did miss an opportunity here of signing Tyler Rogers and Taylor Rogers to have a real opportunity to have a game where you start a game with Trevor Rogers and the only two arms you use out of the bullpen are Taylor Rogers and Tyler Rogers, and your entire box score makes you go crazy because you just see a bunch of T. Rogers all over.
A bunch of T. Rogers. And then maybe Aaron Rodgers used to play baseball. Maybe you bring in Aaron Rodgers. He's probably got a couple innings in there, and it's Rodgers with a G, no D's in there. Yeah, man, there's a lot to be excited about, and there's still more to come. I can't wait to see what the rest of this offseason looks like, and then provided everybody stays healthy. I mean, this next season has the makings of an all-timer in Baltimore. Yeah. They raised ticket prices and they took away a lot of fan perks and all that, but it's they kind of knew what they were doing, because it's when we trot out the roster that we're planning to put together next year, people aren't going to care what they're paying for tickets because this team is going to be worth it. It's just Man, I'm just so happy. Like if you know me, outside of my wife and my daughter, the thing that makes me the happiest is good Orioles baseball. And like we are on the precipice of some of the best Orioles baseball maybe we've ever seen. And like I'm just, I can just smile. I can just smile. I just feel good right now.
Yeah.
Breaking. I don't know that this needs all exclamation points. I mean, all caps. Mets sign Jorge Polanco. We
Who is this announcing this? Am I?
Tats. Imai. Oh, maybe he will be an Oriole. Maybe that's what is this? Jorge Polanco is. I think Dillon broke this on our show about 20 minutes ago. So, but no, we appreciate it though. Thank you for it. Just in case somebody missed it. Yes, the Mets signed Jorge Polanco to replace Pete Alonso. Good player going to a team that should be competitive this year, but has had a rough go of it. On Tuesday, they lost Edwin Diaz over the difference of about $3 million and $1 million a year, not $3 million each year, $1 million a year. And then on Wednesday, Pete Alonso signs with the Orioles. A tough week for the Mets. So hopefully Jorge, I don't give two S's about what that means for them, but like hopefully for their fan base who is just ready to jump off a mountaintop right now, this will start to kind of squash any of those concerns, and they'll start adding for them. As long as it's not somebody that I want, like Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Bat Around. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners, viewers, friends. Without you, we 100% do not have a show. Dillon, always love having you on the show. Thank you for making time for us today. Almost 2 hours worth of time on the show today. We certainly appreciate it. Until next week, see you.